Below in the deepest caves of the overworld lies the trial chambers. But what if I told you they were built for a single reason? All of this to keep something trapped. But hold on, let's rewind back. Let's go back to June 2010 when Mojang first introduced dungeons. Small rooms built out of mossy and normal cobblestone. Simple 9x6 structures was one room and a single entity. But the question is, why were these rooms even added? And why were they underground, isolated and sealed? Was nothing but a spawner inside? Well, there is one explanation that stands out. They weren't natural, they were constructed. And not by players, but by the villagers. You see, villagers feature a lot of builds, including a similar block palette to the dungeon. But these are just the first signs of the villagers' involvement. Villagers are also very goal-oriented, which is quite rare for mobs in Minecraft. For example, farming crops and stocking up on resources, villagers are organized. But one of their goals stands out the most: protecting themselves. Because as long as villagers have existed, so have zombies and other hostile mobs. And to prove that protecting themselves is their most important goal, take a look at their greatest creation, the Iron Golem. A towering wall of iron, built to defend them from whatever they could not fight themselves. But the goal of creating the Iron Golem really stands out, because iron can only be obtained through mining and smelting. So this proves that the villagers were dedicated to finding a way to keeping themselves safe. And building a giant fighting machine was a major decision, especially for the villagers. In fact, Jeb once himself stated, "Villagers don't fight, they build." I think you can see where this is going. This brings us back to the dungeons. In fact, the literal definition of a dungeon is a strong underground prison cell. Therefore, it makes sense for dungeons to be another attempt by the villagers at protecting themselves, building them and leaving only to never be seen near again. But trapping mobs underground didn't end there. In 1.11's exploration update, we were introduced to Illagers, exiled villagers who left for the woods. Found deep within woodland mansions, Illagers took trapping mobs to a new level. Illagers went all out on dropping entities, building giant cobblestone rooms with iron bars. But one aspect set the villagers and Illagers apart: their ability to fight. Each Illager was armed with some type of weapon, meaning their abilities naturally surpassed those of the villagers. This philosophy escalated again in 1.14 with the Village and Pillage update, introducing the Pillager Outpost. Tall wooden towers surrounded by tents, watch platforms, and most suspiciously, wooden cages. Inside the cages, players found allays and iron golems, mobs that are really hard to catch and even harder to keep contained. But sometimes, these cages were left empty. And this might be for a reason. You see, bizarrely, Pillager Outposts spawn in more biomes than any other mob-related structure in the game. They appear in the plains, the taigas, the desert, the tundra, and so many more. So why do the pillagers build these cages in massive structures? Well, this does not seem random, but like a connected network. A cross-biome operation. And isn't it suspicious that it's inside these Pillager Outposts you can obtain bad omen bottles? Remember this for later. Also, a distant hint is the block palette of the structure, including both cobblestone and mossy cobblestone. And when you consider the wooden cages and the frequency of their spawn, you start to wonder if they were collecting something. Or rather someone. Going even further, Pillager patrols spawn in even more biomes, and also possess bottles of bad omen. So where's the pillagers simply terrorizing the surface? Or where's they gathering mobs, preparing them for something deeper? Something we weren't meant to find. Well, whatever the answer is, it doesn't end on the surface. Because there's a place where all of these threads begin to converge. Only now do the trial chambers start to make sense. In the 1.18 Minecraft update, Mojang did something groundbreaking, lowering the bedrock layer. And with it came Deep Slate, a new, denser stone that replaced regular stone below y=0. This is where the Illagers come in. They did what the villagers did not even think of, expanding the small dungeons into giant underground complexes. But they didn't stop there. They packed it with redstone, including dispensers launching projectiles, copper lamps, and even water systems. And deep within the trial chambers, you'll spot something else. Massive murals. These enormous wall symbols. Now, where else have I seen these structures before? Yes, it is exactly the woodland mansions, also the ones inhabited by Illagers. Now think back, Pillager's outposts can spawn in almost every biome, and weirdly enough, trial chambers feature artificially built mini biomes, leaving no explanation at all for their purpose. Or maybe they do, because what if it is assigned to the locations of the Pillager outposts above ground? This would make even more sense when you consider the most mysterious feature of the trial chambers, the spawners. Inside the trial chambers, they have changed. The trial spawner isn't just a machine that spits out mobs on a loop. It senses players literally. It doesn't feel random. It feels like redstone combined with magic. And if there's one group you know that deals with mysterious magic, it's definitely the Illagers. So why are all these mobs trapped inside these small cages? And why do players need a Bad Omen effect to activate the Ominous Trials? And why is the only way to obtain the Bad Omen effect is through an Ominous bottle only carried by certain Illagers? Coincidence? No, this is the clearest link we have seen yet. The Trial Chambers are not just ancient ruins, they're tied directly to the Illagers. But here's where it gets even more bizarre. Remember the Pillager Outpost and patrols spawning in almost every biome in Minecraft? Well, it seems like they're collecting mobs and trapping them in the special spawners. Just like the villagers have back in the dungeons, the pillagers are now trapping them in a way larger amount. The trial spawners feature almost every mob from every unique biome. And as you can see, every trial spawner is surrounded by a set of distinctive unique blocks. A stray spawner is surrounded by ice, and a husk is surrounded by chisel sandstone. Each mob's chamber reflects this natural biome. And what do all these biomes have in common? Yes, there's the same biomes where Pillager Outposts and Pillager Patrols have been seen. So have the Illagers been collecting mobs from across the overworld and bringing them down here? The spawner acting as a cage, the trial chambers themselves being expanded dungeons, and the link between the biomes and the entities found within. Every part starts to make sense. Except one. Where in the world did they get the breeze? You see, every mob in the trial chambers has a link to the overworld. Cave spiders from mine shafts, silverfish from strongholds, and the bog from the swamps. But the breeze? Nothing. No backstory, no home biome, no natural habitat. No trace of it anywhere in the overworld. It's exclusive to the trial chambers, and it just doesn't add up. And here's what makes it even stranger. The breeze is the only hostile mob that can interact with redstone elements. It can even reflect arrows. It's something Minecraft players have never seen before, and clearly whoever built these chambers put a lot of emphasis onto the idea of the breeze and its elemental power. Even the pottery shards down here are marked with swirling symbols that match the breeze's power. Not to forget the giant merls. But there might be an explanation for its origin. You see, when a player defeats a breeze, it drops a breeze rod. Sure, its main purpose can be attributed to crafting a mace, but that rod is very similar to something we have seen before, the blaze rod. Blaze rods only come from blazes, which can only be found in another dimension, the Nether. So is it really a stretch to think that they might be related? But there is another link. You see, blazes use fire charges when attacking enemies, and the only way to obtain fire charges is through nether-related structures. But what about wind charges? This leads to the biggest question. Is it possible that the wind charge is a link to a new elemental dimension? Well, in the recent update, Mojang has been giving us hints. No longer is elytra the only way to fly. Mojang is literally expanding players' abilities to move upwards. No one ever expected Mojang to allow players to stand on ghasts. And even on Mojang's official website, they clearly stated that this update had opened up the skies for exploring, building, and more. But what could be that more? Well, there is an answer, but that's up next. Leave your thoughts down below and subscribe to stay tuned.